Welcome to the Shootin The Que podcast presented by Heath Riles Barbecue with tips, tricks, and an inside look at some of the top pitmasters in the game. Now here's your host, Heath Riles.
Welcome back to another episode of Shootin The Que. Today we're joined with my lovely wife Candace and one of my longtime good friends from the good state of Florida. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm good, man. How about y'all?
Man, good. Glad to have you in studio. And for everybody that does not know you, kind of tell everybody who you are and kind of how you got started in the barbecue.
Well, so I'm Steve Smith from Memphis, Florida. Like a lot of people, I think I started by watching BBQ Pitmasters, and I realized that, wow, this is actually a thing, competition barbecue, because I've always done competitive stuff from racing motorcycles to jet skis, cars. Then I was tournament bass fishing, and my daughter was little, and it's kind of a lonely sport on the front of a bass boat, you know, when you're gone a couple days a week and on the weekends. So then I started seeing this stuff about competition barbecue, and I thought, well, I like barbecue, so let's give it a try, you know. Then I learned real quick, like everybody, I didn't know anything about barbecue because you get your butt handed to you right out of the gate. So that was around 2013. I did a couple little backyard deals, the local, just a little festival or something where you serve food and it's a little friendly competition. And of course, I love that aspect of it. And then when I did my first sanctioned event for an FBA event, I think it was in Tavares, Florida. And then, of course, I was hooked after that. But then probably what made it worse is I got hooked early, and I visited the 2014 World Food Championships in Vegas because I got asked to cook chili, ironically enough, with a friend, Lori Frazee, out of Florida. And, of course, that's where I met you, and that's also where I met Lene, and a lot of other good contacts that, you know, just stuck with you. BBQ, I mean, so many people.
It was so many people in Las Vegas that year. That was our first year there. That was a very...
We learned not to spend that long in Vegas ever again.
I was there for a long time, too. I spent part of my time at the D because we were cooking on Fremont Street, which was so cool, except that they put all the barbecue guys out there in that parking lot, which, I mean, I wasn't really a barbecue guy officially at that point, but all y'all were in that little fenced area while they had that big, beautiful deal down the middle of Fremont Street with all those kitchens. But that was a pretty cool event. And that's also is where I met Lene. So that was in November of 2014, and she asked me to cook on BBQ Pitmasters with her, which was filming February 2015. So it was I got
fast-paced, thrown in the fire.
Exactly. I got catapulted into the competition barbecue, I guess kind of straight to the top since I go on TV my first year in barbecue. But, you know, I shouldn't say I haven't looked back, but I cooked for about a year and a half or 2 years pretty solid, and then took a break. I think I cooked 2 contests in about 7 years.
You got really busy with work, the best I can remember, right?
Yeah, well, I had a bunch of work. I also tried to open a restaurant. I did that for a little while. And again, my daughter was, you know, she was like 13 or 14 at the time, so we had volleyball and cheerleading, and I think I was coaching soccer. So it just is kind of, I didn't really want to quit, but it was just kind of the time that what I needed to do at the time.
At her age at that time.
Exactly. And then she graduates, she gets older. I still have the itch, and I had a guy that worked for me, and he knew I did barbecue, and he knew I always talked about it. And we were working in Texas, and he knew that I talked about the Royal going on. I'm like, all my friends are at the Royal. And he's like, we should drive up there and go see if you still have the itch and go see your friends. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, well, I know I have the itch. And I'm thinking this is either going to be a really good idea or a really bad idea. And, of course, I pull up, and I planned on just going there. I went there Friday night.
Is that when you?
Yes, sir.
That's when you wound up helping me.
Yeah, so we Friday night got there, went around, saw some people, and then Saturday I was planning on tucking and running on Saturday, and I saw you there, and I was like, well, man, I got to go say hey to Heath because I hadn't seen him in forever, and we've stayed in touch over the years, but, you know, obviously it's gotten less as you've gotten busier, and me as well, but I ducked my head in Heath's trailer, and I was like, was like, hey, Heath, I just wanted to say, hey, I don't want to bother you. You're like, oh, Steve, you're no bother. Get in here. And you were turning in chicken. And Candace actually recently just found out you were pregnant. So she had morning sickness. So she wasn't feeling good. I think Heath had morning sickness too because
I've been drinking.
Well, yeah, you said you had the flu, so I didn't know if it was a brown bottle flu or...
It was brown bottle flu, white bottle flu, actually, and clear bottle flu.
And then you asked me, you said, hey, man, I don't feel good. Will you cook the open for me tomorrow? And I was like, well, yeah. And you tell me you can run your program. And I'm like, man, I don't have a program. You're Heath Riles. I'm running your program. So needless to say, me seeing you at the Royal... Cooking with you on the open and the rest of the day on the invitational kind of.
Yeah, you come back and help me. I remember I got sick and dehydrated.
Yep.
And I had to.
Oh, you got the IV.
I got 2 IVs that
that's
day.
right.
It was very hot too, though.
Yeah, but it was like 110 and all
on
that.
like asphalt.
We were on pavement underneath that tent, the Traeger tent.
And alcohol induced, you get dehydrated really quick. And I'll be the first to raise my hand. I've done it a couple times before. Right. But after I had those 2 bags of fluids, I come back like a new man. I was good.
Yeah.
But it put me down there for a while. And you saved my butt helping me that morning because I couldn't remember. I mean, I hate to say it. I was throwing up that morning at 6 a.m. I remember that, lighting the fires and all that and putting brisket on and all that morning.
Yeah, I remember lighting the fires, putting the brisket on for you and helping you through. It was an honor. I definitely wasn't mad about it,
That's right.
So.
Wow.
So after that, I think I'd cooked 2 contests in about a 7-year period. And was that 21 or 22?
That was, I believe it was September of 21.
21.
Because we had our daughter in 22.
That's right. So I don't think I did much that year. And then Zane and I got together in August of 22. And we took Chris Schaefer. We went to one contest because she was never involved in anything like that. I wanted to see if she liked it because I wanted a partner that loved it like I did, and she seemed to kind of fall in love with it if you can on the first trip being a partner. But we took Chris Schaefer's class in early 20 or maybe December 22 or beginning of 23, I don't remember. And we started cooking and we've been cooking more and more and we just keep trying to get better and better. And that's where we're at now. It's just still trying to find that. I don't want to say we found our groove. We're close, but I want to be confident and on point.
I think everybody has to cook for a while to really get everything lined out. And it's not you. Sometimes you do have those lucky people that pop off pretty quick. But once you get a system established, and once you get a timeline established, and once you really don't change anything, no matter what, and roll with it, and really just cook to tenderness. It takes, I tell people, 30, 40 contests a lot of times before you really get your first Grand Championship.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many. It probably took me 40 contests. No, it took me more than that. It probably took me 60 contests. But once I got it right and quit and stopped playing, I mean, now I've won, I don't know, 70, I think 78, 79.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, we're still in we're very consistent. Our timelines are amazing, and that's thanks to Zana. Like, she's super organized. Our timelines are, if I do anything different, she's writing it down and why'd you do that? What'd you do? When did that come off? That came off early. So we were taking notes constantly because, again, I'm just trying to get better and better and better. And I think right now the part that kills us, because I feel like our tenderness is there week in and week out, it's that finish. It's just that pop at the end.
Pop at the end.
And sometimes I'll be honest, we get scared to do anything because it tastes so damn good. But then it might score all right, or we'll be, we've been really consistent this year in chicken and brisket. We've been either number 1 or 2 all year long. But even those, it'll be a 180 in chicken this week and won't change anything. And either it'll be 13th or it'll be 23rd, and we just can't understand. But so I'm still learning. I mean,
do you salt at all? Like use table salt on any of the chicken or anything?
I do not use table salt. There's a salt I use. I don't want to mention that Mitchell Bedwell told me to use, and it works.
Then probably the whole world knows.
Well, this is true. That's true.
I always just use regular table salt, the picnic shaker.
Yeah.
But that's what I always dusted on chicken. And to me, it no matter what I used, it seems like if I hit it with salt, because salt is relatable to so many people. What's on every table almost in America or restaurants, salt and pepper.
Right.
And so if you can get relatable to that, you got usually the heat level already from the barbecue spice.
Right.
But if you can put a little bit of salt on somebody's lips, it usually makes that mouth water just a little bit. That tongue slaps with that salt.
Yeah.
And it kind of wakes up your flavor a little bit more.
It makes sense, and I probably really need to focus more on that, being from Florida.
They like it in South Haven, Steve. Trust me.
Okay. Then we'll salt the hell out of it. We're going to the store and buying us just one of those little salt and pepper shakers.
When I first met you, you were Blazing Sevens Barbecue.
Correct.
Okay. And so what really made you change your name now to Mad Dog Barbecue when you kind of rekindled the fire years later?
So when I was Blazing Sevens and my daughter was younger, that was my ex-wife, that was the name we came up with. And I liked the logo and I liked all that. But there was a guy named Jim McCoyne in Florida, Big Daddy Barbecue. Maddie was 12 or 13, I think, at the time. And he asked if she could run boxes for him. Of course, she did it because she's kind of bored. And the first time she did it, he gave her $100. So $100 bill every time she, now she wants to come to the contest. And she's like, and she'd call him Uncle Jim. She's like, is Uncle Jim going to be there? Because she wanted to get that $100 bill. But one day out of the clear blue, he starts calling her Mad Dog. And he's like, because her name's Maddie. And he just Mad Dog this, Mad Dog that. And I put in my brain, I said, if I ever change my team name, I'm going to change it to Mad Dog. So needless to say, I took the hiatus, got divorced. And I'm like, well, it's time. New name, new face. Did Mad Dog. And I have a Doberman Pinscher. So she's kind of the logo. And Zena has a pit bull. So people see us and they just assume, oh, well, Mad Dog, because they have these ferocious dogs, but they're the biggest babies you want to meet, So we have mad looking dogs, but Mad Dog actually came from my daughter's name from another cook team.
You actually had your dog with you at the Royal when you came with us.
Yes, correct. And she was so that was in 21. Mm-hmm. So she was just a little over a year old, and even then I remember. So the guy
was a great pup.
Oh my God, she's amazing. She's with us. I mean, she goes with us all the time. It's the kind of deal where you show up to a contest, people 9 times out of 10 don't go, hey, Steve. They're like, where's Ellie or where's Boba? They want to know where the dog, or did you bring the dogs with you? I'm like, listen, unless I fly somewhere, I'm bringing the dogs. But yeah, she was a little over a year old, and the guy that works for me was keeping her there. And still to this day, I don't feed her human food. And people would be walking by because, that we were there with Traeger, and there were so many people, and there was so much food, and everybody was like, I can't believe that dog is just sitting there. That's just such a well-behaved dog. So I'm very blessed of just really from a puppy, what a great dog she's been. So she's pretty amazing for sure. Very well trained, listens very well. Most of the time she's not even on a leash and doesn't need to be. Could care less about other dogs, and it's a good thing.
So was there somebody who you would consider a mentor when you first started barbecue, or would that go back to the ones that you mentioned kind of meeting in Las Vegas maybe, or do you have somebody different?
So cooking in Florida all the time when I first started cooking again, or from the beginning, I was with like Rub Bagby, Matt Barber, and Jim Elzer week in and week out, because those are the guys you're cooking for fourth. Because with those guys there, I mean, that's what you're doing.
Really, I've never thought about it like that. But back in the heyday of really before Pitmasters, you're exactly right. Those 3 names were the names every week.
In Florida, for sure.
That would get called.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, you were cooking for 4th place most of the time. I mean, my first grand was in FBA, and Jim Elzer was there. I was very happy about that, to be able to beat him that week. But and actually that's another story we can talk about. But so mentors, I would lean on those guys a lot, just because I see them week in and week out. But really, like, not because I'm on his podcast and trying to give him credit, but from the second I met Heath, and actually I barely met him. It was in passing with Lene. We were doing something, and she tells me, she goes, run over and see if he's got any something or other, whatever rub it was. And I'm like, I don't even know. He doesn't know who I am. Like, he doesn't know me. She's like, trust me, it'll be fine. He'll give it to you. I'm like, okay. And we go over there, and he's like, yeah, take this and take that. And so, you know, we live 12 hours apart. Yeah. We've cooked against each other a couple times at the World Food Championships in Orlando. He was there, and he gave me a lot of information and helped me then. Used to call him a lot of times back then. So Heath really helped mentor me as well, because at the Sunnies, we were right next to each other. There was something I remember.
I forgot about the Sunnies. Yes, we were together.
Yeah, at the zoo there in Central Florida. That was a one time. That was going to be a really cool deal.
Great contest and venue. I know it was a long ride down for us, but that was really that Sunnies. I mean, Sunnies is all about hospitality anyway.
And they put up a bunch of money.
And they put up a lot of money. And I remember they had a great band. What was the gentleman that played? He had a hit song.
Chris Jansen was.
Yeah,
Chris Jansen played.
It was. I mean,
I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah, but
I mean, I remember the event, but I don't.
But it was just a really superb venue and event, being at that zoo like that and being where it was tucked away at. It was just really, really cool.
I got DQ'd in chicken that day. Oh, gosh. But I got 5th place brisket. But once
you remember a lot of people got sick off the shark. Was it shark that they gave everybody for a
oh, that's right,
ancillary meat or something? And I think some people got sick off of it or something.
Now that you mention it, I remember that, but I forgot. I'd forgotten all about that. And then another thing, like getting to know Heath by phone, meeting him at the World Food Championships. I thought about this the other day. Lene and I were driving to the set of BBQ Pitmasters, and she called Heath and asked him about some stuff. And
whole hog.
Well, no, I think it was before we did whole hog. I think
it was.
It was when I feel like, because at that time it was a big. And if you see the show, we put the compound butter on the back side of that brisket. So the first episode and the last episode, we cooked a brisket. And she always talked about Heath's compound butter. And I watched the show the other day, and she talks about the compound butter, and that's what made me think of it. I was like, I remember Heath, we were driving in the car on the way to go film that show, and Heath is throwing us recipes, and we're, thinking about so many other things, but he mentored us from over the phone on BBQ Pitmasters, so maybe he's part of the reason why we went all the way to the end.
I don't know, man. I always try to just help anybody that, if I've got the time for it, I know I can't hold an hour conversation with every person that calls.
Right.
It gets harder, but I've always been that way. I've never met really a stranger because somebody's friendly. Why shun them? Why be that way? I mean,
I love helping somebody when they're next to me, and whether they look up to me or
I'd rather
not.
know I helped you and you beat me than me shun you and you beat me.
Right.
That's not very gentleman of me of doing that.
I can't stand when you see some of these big guys like turn their nose up at some of these new teams or little guys are just starting.
Trying to make it in the sport or get started or want to get a foothold and not wanting to help them. And I just don't agree with some of that. And
no, we got to grow it. We need, like, those backyard teams. That's why I will always – Zane and I helped a team big time a couple years ago, and it was such a great feeling. They'd never gotten a brisket call, and I told them, I was like, listen, brisket's one of the easiest things to cook. I mean, it is in my opinion. I've been up top.
I don't think it's that hard. You have to hit tenderness on brisket. That's everybody's problem. Everybody has a good flavor. You really just need to hit tenderness.
Yeah.
And that is, if you look 9 out of 10 people that turn in a brisket box, it's not tender.
Yeah.
That's the only problem with it.
I don't know. I've had some pretty bland tasting brisket too.
Now you're right. Some of them do taste like straight roast beef.
Everybody at a con here, taste my brisket.
Oh,
I've had some wonderful ones, but I've had a few bland ones.
You have to almost be a touch of the salty, savory side to really make it taste good, in my opinion, and not taste like roast beef.
Well, even with chicken, like when we were talking about chicken, that you were talking about salt. I can't tell you how many times, I'm sure you can say the same thing. You're sitting with all your peers, and your buddy goes, "Man, my chicken was so salty," and then they walk or they get a 180.
So we talk about that all the time. It's almost like the category you think you did the worst in.
Right.
You feel the worst about.
Right.
It's almost like you always
do
the best in it because you're so disappointed and like, man, I know I'm not going to get a call. And just like he always goes back to that story of the brisket for him. He walked out. He was so mad. He walked out of the trailer and left it. Wasn't even going to turn it in.
Yeah, it was splitting in the middle.
I built the box. Right. I did it.
And I just let them sit on the counter. It had about 7-8 minutes, the best I can remember, till turn in was left. And I walked out of the trailer and I said, I ain't even going to turn this in. She put it in the box and somehow miraculously tightened up. And we got a perfect 180 that day.
No way.
Yes.
That was actually at,
don't-
wasn't
at
that at
South Haven.
Springfest?
It was at Springfest.
South Haven Springfest, the
So I'm gonna
contest.
take
for-
note on that. I need to
It
put my
needs to
brisket.
be tender.
Yeah.
They gum them down there.
Is that right?
It needs to be tender. You do not want any tug in your brisket at South Haven.
Well,
That was several years ago. But
It
yeah,
was.
just to the point of the things you feel like you did the worst in, it seems like you always end up doing decent in.
yeah. The first contest of the year this year in Florida, we reserved. Brad won, of course, and that's pretty much set the pace for the year, right? He's been first, I've been second. But we didn't hate our cook, but there's so many times where we love so many things and we just love it. But we were just like, well, we didn't hate anything. We didn't feel like it was perfect. And then we walk in chicken, we walk in ribs, and we get first place pork. We tied for first place brisket. I'm like, but like you said, so many times when you think you hate something.
Middle of the road.
I know. And that's what I got to find, that middle of the road, because, but then we still, we talk about the salt. We still get sometimes the comments where we don't think it's salty and they'll go too salty. And I'm just thinking, well, how was it too salty? I thought it was perfect.
That is a hard one to swallow, too, because they're sitting there eating saltine crackers.
True.
And so after some of the bites, if they clear their mouth and immediately turn around and take a bite, I have to question
The salt
myself
is
on
still
that.
on
So
there.
I never change based on one comment card or two. I don't care if I get a flu of them. I ain't changing.
Yeah. Yeah. We make changes about every week, but it's small change because I feel like we are so close. We're just
Tweaking.
minuscule.
You have to tweak, smile.
We tweak every
Because if you
single
make
week.
drastic changes,
then you don't know what, or if you change 4 or
Exactly.
5 things and you're like,
You don't
like
know
on a
what-
race car. I mean, I've worked on a
worked and
race
what
car
didn't.
and I've had drivers that, they want to change this and change that. And you change all this stuff and the car's better. And you're like, well, what,
don't know which thing
what
helped.
fixed it. Yeah. Because you just changed 6 things. You threw the,
Yeah.
the book at it and now you have no idea what you did. So
Yeah.
we tweak very finely.
So what category do you feel like you're the strongest in right now?
Brisket,
Brisket?
for sure.
What are you? I have to ask, what brand brisket are you cooking?
Well,
Or does it matter as long as it's Wagyu?
it doesn't matter because we have cooked A9s, we've cooked Snake Rivers, we've cooked another, it's not new, a brisket that Bobby Gay started bringing in from California, Wagyu brisket. And let's see, for Waycross just a couple weeks ago, I needed a brisket. I didn't have time to get one from Kevin. I screwed around. I didn't order one from Snake River because I knew Bobby had them in his freezer. I could just go get one. So he's like, I got this new brisket I want you to try. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how many times have you heard that stuff, right? So he pulls out this brisket. I'm like, wow, that's pretty nice. It was only 15 pounds, which I normally only cook 16 to 18 pounders. I know a lot of guys are cooking these 21 to 25 pounders and just get crazy. I don't like wasting. I mean, it's an expensive sport already, but
Give me a 12-pounder, 13-pounder. I'm fine with it.
if it looks good, it don't
I
matter.
just need a section out of it anyway.
Piece of notebook paper. That's all I
That's
need.
it.
Exactly. So I get this 23-pound Snake River. I get this other brisket. I take them both to the contest. I trim them. And when I turn them to their side, this other one is so beautiful inside. I couldn't believe all the marbling and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to cook this thing. We 180 and got first place brisket. So I don't think it matters what kind of brisket you use. When you talk about people go, oh, A9's this and well, A9 cooks a little different. Snake River cooks a little different. I don't think I'm that good that I can't tell a difference. I just know how to finish a brisket and tenderness, and I don't think it matters.
Well, and that's what I have to agree with you, because every pork shoulder that you would buy, it's a different animal. You might get a pair off a pig, right?
Yeah.
Same way with that brisket every week.
Right.
You're cooking a different brisket every week off a different animal. So
Right.
you never know the life of that animal, what it's had,
Right.
or how it was treated, or anything like that. So it's going to cook differently. So cooking to a target temp of 206, 208, whatever it is,
don't work.
and then it's just a target temp. And then you still need
Then
to
you
be
gotta find
feeling,
it. Yep.
and you may need to go a little bit further.
Absolutely.
And I have found that with a lot of Wagyu briskets, what are you carrying them up to now? 210, 212?
I couldn't even tell you.
You just carrying it till it just goes no more.
Because I stick my probe in it and I don't even look because I don't want to know if it's 206 or if it's 215. Because if it starts getting to 212 or 213, my brain is going to start going a little wonky and worrying about it. Once it gets to a certain point, I use a toothpick. And that's it.
And you just feel no resistance.
And I've gotten a lot better on my feel for pork. I don't use a toothpick. I use my thermopen. I couldn't tell you the temperature, but I go by feel, and I'm getting better at my feel for ribs. Now chicken, I go by temperature, but you've cooked thousands of butts, and I can tell you when I cook butts, and I tell people when you're, especially these young guys or just the backyard guys, when they go, well, I got this butt, it weighs this much. If I cook it at 225, and I do it I'm like, listen, that doesn't mean every piece of meat, every muscle is different.
That's right.
I've cooked 2 10-pound butts side by side in the Old Hickory rotisserie, so it's even heat. They're both within a quarter pound of each other, and the one will take an hour longer to finish because, like you said, it's a different animal. You don't know how that animal, was it lazy? Was it more, you don't know.
Well, that's honestly the key to resting meat. And I don't know, that's the big thing. You're a canned guy now. You swapped off gravity fed.
Right.
Are you resting your brisket for at least a minimum of so long before you're slicing? Or are you coming right off and going to box almost?
So these people that like time their ribs, or our chicken's pretty timed, but we've let our chicken sit on the counter for 30 minutes if you have to. But these guys that like, oh yeah, I pull my ribs off and I slice them. I'm like, there's no way, because sometimes my ribs, they're done at 11:50. Sometimes it's 11:15, and I don't want to crank it up, I will if I have to.
I want mine off the grill by 10:30.
My brisket's usually done when it's running late. It's like 11:30, 11:45. If it's running normal, it's 11 to 11:15. So you figure it's sitting for at least an hour. But now, I don't Cambro my brisket either.
You're also, well, you don't Cambro, you're just leaving it wrapped on the counter in the pan. Mm-hmm. And it's really sitting there close to an hour and a half if it's off by 11, right? Because you're not turning in brisket to 2, right? At FBA.
1:30. I don't do FBA anymore.
Okay. So 1:30.
We're strictly KCBS for.
And then I'm sure you sitting there letting the slices soak in au jus for a matter of minutes.
Well, I'll give away all my secrets, but no. I want to see if Zana was in here. She could. She's the timeline queen, because she's like, hey, it's time to do this or what. I think when I'm done with pork at 108,
you immediately go slice and let it set.
Well, I used to. So I used to slice my brisket. I've done it so many different ways, and I've been successful. A lot of this stuff, I tell people, I think it's bro science, and I do it. You do something this week and it works, and you're like, well, that's what I'm going to do from now on because it worked.
I used to wear the same underwear every Saturday. I know.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I hear you. But
shoes, too. I mean, I did. I had lucky shoes.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I just,
your lucky shorts, your lucky hat. I mean, all of it. I get it. But right now, we pull our brisket out of the au jus, sauce it, put it on the smoker, I think at 110, and we run it till usually 8 to 10 minutes. Now, if I feel pretty good about it when I lift it up, and it feels right, then it goes back and sits in the pan, and I'll just stand there, and I don't do anything until it's time, till my 123 or 124. I slice it, au jus it, and box it. Now, earlier this year, talking about not liking stuff, I was cooking a Snake River, and it was the first Snake River I cooked of the year. So I kind of screwed myself by thinking it's going to cook different and I got to do different. I'll never do that again. I'll never worry about what brisket it is. It's just cook the damn thing and get it till it's tender. So Charles from Glampin' Grillers was actually next to me, and he cooks snakes. And I was like, hey, feel this. Tell me what you think, because I haven't cooked a snake in forever. He's like, oh, it's ready. I'm like, and I was thinking to myself, man, I just don't think it's there. He cooks on cans, and I know he's not going to lie to me. I trust him. And in his mind, he felt like it was there. Well, at that 110 or 108, like I told you when we sauce our brisket, I pulled it out and it's hard as a brick. And I said, oh my God. I told Zana, I said, it is tightened up. I said, it sucks. She goes, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I said, I don't know. I grabbed it. I think I threw it in the au jus. Wrapped it up, put it on the smoker, knocked the lids open, went back in. I sat down on the couch, and she asked me something. I go, it's not going to work. And I jumped up, walked back out there, took it out, sliced it, put it in the au jus, got all my au jus in between there.
Put it back.
Every slice, put it back on there. And again, like the bro science of I sauce it at this time, I sauce the top, I do this, I wait to slice it, I don't put an au jus, I do. Well, I never sauced the top of it again because it was already sliced. I didn't have time to reset the sauce. I did my normal au jus, painted it, boxed it, hated it. I said I saved it. I said I'm just hoping I hope I saved it to a middle of the pack rather than the bottom third of the pack, you know. And once they, you know, when your meat and you know it's not terrible, but you think that maybe I've turned in that before, maybe I'll squeeze out a 9th or 10th. So we're sitting there, and once it got to 7th, I'm like, well, we're done. We're not getting anything after that. And then they called us for 5th place brisket, and I was like, well, I took a piece of crap, and I mean, I'm becoming a pitmaster. I saved it, you know.
Well,
what I mean?
I've boiled some briskets before. Like
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically you taking that and you're using your au jus and dip and throwing it back on the grill.
I
like
was
that,
450 degrees by the
Yeah.
time I was done because I needed it to break. I needed
Right.
it to.
You leave the can off the lid, it'll get there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, real quick.
Real quick.
Got a damn dumpster fire out there.
Well, if brisket's your strongest category, what would you say your weakest category is right now?
Ribs.
Ribs.
Yeah, ribs. Now, I think my ribs haven't been bombing. I got a 4th place in Arizona with ribs, and that was thanks to Champa Q, who's also a Heath Riles team. There's a buddy of mine I met it out of California, and he's killing it in ribs right now. So I asked him to come cook with me at Lake Havasu. I got to thinking about it. I'm like, either though I'm number 2 right now in team of the year, I need to not be too proud and let this guy cook my ribs. So I was like, hey, man, will you cook your ribs? So I think he was pretty honored to do that. And we got 4th place, or he got 4th place, I should say. But our ribs have been, that's the only category I haven't won a 1st place in is ribs, like in my whole career.
Really?
Is ribs. I've won pork a bunch. I've won tons of chicken. I've won a lot of briskets. I've never won a rib. And then, of course, I'm sponsored by the Rib Man, the king of ribs. So,
but I mean, I don't know. I consider ribs to be pretty easy. You just got to carry them to the tenderness point because they're going to tighten back up
right
to a tight point. So you got to carry them almost past the point, or you do, in order for them to let them come back where they need to be.
Well, I finally got my feel for ribs. I was trying to tempt them, talking to different people, you know, and, well, if you're doing a Prairie Fresh, about 207. And it's also different if you're cooking on a drum or if you're cooking on an outlaw, if you're cooking on...
I do agree that the different types of ribs finish at different temps, but it's back to like you were saying with brisket, you've learned that feel.
Right. Well, Jim Melzer, he always kills ribs, and he always talked about, and even you told me, about feeling that rib, that third bone in, and twisting that bone, doing this and that, and it just never worked for me. And then
if I could go the middle of the rack and hold one bone down and pick one bone up and it starts coming through the meat in the back,
right,
that rib's done.
Yeah.
No matter, I don't care if it's MBN or KCBS.
Right.
And I consider those the 2 main, sanctioning bodies for me.
Right.
Right. And you can take that in any other sanctioning body, I think, and be fine with tenderness. Because once you cut that, it's going to tighten back up to where it needs to be, and you're going to get a clean bite.
So that's the other thing with ribs that we've done is, they're good, right? You wrap them back up, throw them in the Cambro, you're waiting until it's time. And then there's you pull them out, sauce them, put them back on the rack, or do you pull them out and you slice them and sauce them and put them back on the rack? I've done both, and I can't say I like one better than the other, but I'm still trying to find that little...
A lot of people, it seems like, has went to the slicing before saucing.
Right.
But for me personally, I'm all about setting a bark on a full slab first.
Right.
Then saucing my cutting board.
I know.
Laying it face down.
I remember that.
Slicing it and then evening out the thin layer of sauce on top, because I've already set a layer of sauce on it that's usually pretty tacky. Mm-hmm. So then just taking whatever thinned out sauce is on the cutting board and glazing those ribs over once I build a box and turn the bone back over, face over, because it's really hard to cut from the face down on a rib and find your bone angle right.
Yeah, because once you can get going through the first 3 and you
may have to move that knife over and it won't look right.
Yeah, and then the next one you hit the bone, you're like, damn it. But yeah, when I cooked with you at the Royal, I remember, and I was just like, blown away because I'm thinking, once you tack that sauce up on the front, it's so pretty and beautiful. And I remember you putting the sauce on the board and flipping the ribs over, and I was like, oh God, no way. But I do that all the time now. But I always think about the Heath Riles telling me,
you just going to wave it back up with that brush when you get done with it.
Right.
You're going to touch it when you put it in the box anyway.
Right. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And then the finishing dust on the ribs. That's where Zane and I have been lacking, not doing a good job, because I can tell you we've gotten a lot of calls, not a lot. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 calls on ribs so far this year. And I don't think I've finished dusted them. Like when getting ready to go in the box, I haven't dusted them.
It's especially helpful on the back end of the rib, if you ask me, because how does most judges bite a rib?
Yeah, the glaze.
They don't turn it down.
Right, the glaze
The glaze
sides
is in the top.
Right.
So your tongue's got a lot of flavor buds on them, right?
Yeah.
And so if you've gotten something when they rake that tongue on the bottom of that rib to bite down with their teeth on the front to bite the meat,
Right.
they're getting a little more flavor on the bottom of that.
I'm gonna pack it with kosher salt this week.
Whatever will work. I mean, I can tell you. Sometimes I take salt, and it just depends on one of my rubs. I've used beef rub as a grinder
because it's salty
on that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've used the honey chipotle. I've used the sweet rub. I've used comp rub. I used comp rub the last few times.
Just grind it up.
Just grind it up. I'm putting it in the thumb grinder, just barely dusting on top of the sauce, just to get another pop in top of the sauce a lot.
Yeah.
And chicken, though, I'm always a salt guy.
Straight
Always
salt
on
How do you
chicken.
feel about accent?
Accent's fine. It's just, good old MSG.
Right.
There's
I got
nothing wrong with it.
MSG in our trailer too. But
Some people are against MSG and some people are for it. And to me, it's, I'm going to say a dumbed down definition is a Japanese version of like salt. It's a flavor enhancer,
Yeah.
right? But it does wake your food up. If you use MSG accent on one rack of ribs and then don't use it on the other one, and then just taste them and tell me the difference. Even
At
sauce
the end?
At the end.
Right.
It seems like to me the one with the accent does have a little bit more flavor pop. But you hear all the misconceptions, or I won't say misconception. You hear some people, it breaks people out now. Some people that, they say they have
Headaches.
from it, and, things
it has
like
a weird
that.
taste. To me, it's almost like a little bitter taste at the end.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not.
So you really have to be careful with it. I mean, depending if you're going to use it. And then there's, what is that one, the Japanese one? Ajinomoto? Is that right? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's the packaging and all. You can order it off Amazon. I know a lot of guys that use that
Really?
in competitions, yeah. It's like a lot of guys using the moo glue and things like that,
Yeah.
And me
Still a
personally,
thing?
I never used the moo glue or the
Is that
the
still a
food
thing?
glues or anything like that, like rolling chicken breast up and gluing, pork butts together to make bigger money muscles before collars was legalized. I knew people that was taking and putting like 3 money muscles together and be able to. I know all kind of stuff like
my
that. It was
God.
easy as long as it.
Well, I know guys that will have a butcher's gash in their brisket and moo glue it back together
Yes.
and just be as good as new.
Yes.
And I've also, I haven't had to do it, but another little trick that's so stupid that if you have a nice brisket and it's got a huge slice in it, flip it over, cut the fat off the bottom, and somebody told me that brisket doesn't know it's upside down or not, and I'm like, well, damn, that is true. So clean the fat off, because I almost don't have any fat on my brisket when I cook it anyway. So flip your brisket over, so that can be a little tip for you kids. If you don't have any moo glue, you got a butcher slice on top, don't be afraid to take the fat off.
I
the
used to
bottom.
just feather it out.
Same here. That's what I've always
don't
done.
get me wrong. If they're up the middle, it's kind of harder. But you can get it out, and just by the time you put sauce on it and rub down it and understand what to do, you'd be all right.
Right.
I don't know. It's so hard to figure that out. So out of all the contests you've cooked this year, what would you say, or in general, is the best location you've cooked a comp at?
So the best location, meaning what would be your definition of the best location as far as
Like
the ambiance of the
whatever
feel of the
whatever you
contest?
feel like. What's your favorite contest you've done so far? Would be a better question
Man,
that you like going to.
golly, I didn't know I would get put on the spot by such a simple question. I cooked the barbecue jackpot in December, and I just love Vegas, so that one's kind of a but it's still, it's so funny to hear people talk about, oh, this is a really great contest and I love this contest. And there's not that I don't feel this way, but at the end of the day, I mean, we're in a parking lot with generators running and tripping over wires and whatever. And
I guess you like me, you kind of rope in the experience of what good restaurants, do you like going to at that place, or what other things
I love the little
you happen
downtown
to
ones.
do. You know what I mean? We love Murfreesboro, Illinois, because of all the little shops and the little town, and it's more than just a barbecue contest to me in Murfreesboro, which I hadn't been in a couple of years.
Right.
But that is one of my favorites, and same as Galax, Virginia, just because it's in a downtown setting like you're talking about, all the shops, all the people. It's on the street. It's just shaded. It's a lot. I don't know. It's just like one of those iconic type contests.
Galax is one I'd like to do.
The trophies are really cool.
Exactly. The trophy, same thing with Murfreesboro, right? Like the
glass blown apples and
the
things.
apples, yeah. But I say I want to go to Galax, but I went to North Carolina this year and got my teeth kicked in, and then when I get done, everybody's telling me, "Oh, that's how this area is. Oh, this area sucks." And even Fred Vegas, who granded that day, and I think Jason Hardy. No, he didn't reserve.
Well, they've always talked about the East Coast being so low scoring and
just
things like
tough
that.
And this and that. They're like, Virginia's the same way. And I'm just like, well, I could have cooked Williamsburg a 2-day this weekend. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going back to Virginia or North Carolina.
It's hard for me to get out of the Southeast. There's so many contests in the Southeast.
Yeah.
Even with you coming out of Florida into Georgia and into Mississippi, you just make a little hook, and you can cover so much space in Alabama and Mississippi, Georgia. You don't have to go much further.
No. And I've been jumping on a plane and cooking out in Arizona and Nevada because I found that I do relatively well out there. So it's like hard not to. I have some connections of people that will give me equipment and bring equipment for me. So that's a bonus.
I know. I thought you were flying in here and I was going to be cleaning out trailers and get you a trailer again. I remember one time you come in for the Sam's Club deal, and I was like, I got an extra trailer, bro. I got an extra grill. I'll just pull it down there to the contests.
Yeah, I tell people about that too, because you sponsor a lot of teams and a lot of people know who Heath Riles is, but they don't really know you. And I'm like, well, Heath's my buddy. I said there was a time my daughter and I drove up, and Zane has heard this story a million times too, but we drove to South Haven to cook at Sam's Club, and I was still early in the game too. And he's like, yeah, I'll have a trailer for you. You had cookers for me, and I was a rock star pulling in. Trailer was already at the comp. It was.
I had the air plugged in. It was ready to go.
Yeah, that's what you got. You had that brand new at the time. You just got that new trailer, that white one, that big porch trailer. I think Mo Quezon bought that one from you.
Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of trailers over the years. Now I'm back down to a short, small one.
I know. I saw.
And I could almost go a tad smaller.
Oh, really?
I mean, I like my short 18-foot trailer, but I could go 14 to 16 foot now.
Yeah.
And get away with it. We don't cook but a handful of contests anymore, a couple really, as a practice run, and then Memphis in May. And I cook on a big BFO at Memphis in May and just use that as to cook my finals ribs on at Memphis. Yeah. And I'll cook South Haven this weekend, but I say I'm going to go ahead and carry it out to my farm, coming up and park it in my shop and start cooking on it a little more. That way I can, if I leave it parked in my shop and leave it stocked and plugged in all the time, I know I'll be good to go.
You'll use it.
Leave it cleaned up, yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten spoiled. Like, our trailer's a little bit bigger, but I love the idea of I have a rear ramp and a side ramp, like my black trailer that I had back in the day. I have a new one, but I had it built the same way. So if I'm not going around, like this weekend, I probably won't be going around socializing much. My feet will hardly hit the ground on Saturday.
That's the way me, man. It's hard to come off a trailer when you have a porch trailer just walking back and forth versus, which my new one's not a porch trailer.
Right.
You got to walk around to it.
Yeah.
But a porch trailer in the rain and all that was the only way to cook.
Oh, my gosh, it's so nice.
Only way to cook.
Yeah, because we cooked Smoke on the Shores this year in Nashville.
It's brutal, wasn't it?
Oh, my gosh, it rained. It would, like, slack off. But as soon as turn-in time it'd get close to turn-in time, it'd start raining, and Zane would have to run in the rain. It was, they were talking about tornadoes and hail. It was, but thank God it wasn't as bad as they said it was going to be. But that was, and then you look out there and you see people in tents and you see them under their easy ups, and
Been there and done it.
I've been when I go out west or if I fly out somewhere, I'm cooking under a tent and
I ain't cooking in the rain like that no more.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that it may rain this weekend when we cook, but I mean, I couldn't go out and do it week in and week out anymore like I used to. We used to fight the monsoons and stuff, and you remember that, tents and having to go unfold them and dry them out, and just so
if
much
they didn't
stuff.
break.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if the
If
wind
they didn't
didn't
break
away
or
and
get twisted up.
Awnings break too, though.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
awnings and everything else. Wow.
Does your new trailer have an awning?
It does.
Yeah.
I don't let it out very much. It's an electric one.
Yeah.
Wind to get it real quick.
Oh yeah, the wind will yank it right out of there.
I mean,
and your smoker's on the back, mounted to the back, so you walk
like
around.
Rod Gray's old trailer.
I don't even
You
remember.
remember Rod Gray's old trailer, little short trailer, just had the inside. You could go in and build your boxes, air conditioning, all that stuff. Mine's got a bathroom in it.
Right.
And on the back is just a stick burner pit. I have an Outlaw.
Yeah.
And,
I
walk
think
out there
Darren
and fire
Wolf's
it
new
up.
trailer's like that too, where you walk around the back like.
Yeah, he bought my other trailer.
Oh,
And he
did
sold it to some guys in Canada, and he ordered one like I just got.
Oh really?
He did.
That's funny.
He kept it long enough till he had one built.
Oh well.
He said, "I'm only buying yours to cook on a few months," and he sold it.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So what's the furthest that you have traveled for a comp? Would it be Arizona or Vegas or somewhere? Or have you gone further than that?
I flew to Utah, Salt Lake City last year. So I've cooked in Bullhead City, Arizona, Lake Havasu, and Vegas this past year. And all those times I flew into Vegas. So that's about the same. Yeah. And then I flew into Salt Lake City last June and borrowed some smokers I never cooked on, and I still did okay. So, again, I just keep finding that. And, you know, somebody mentioned to me, they were talking about their setup of they were going to sell their trailer and they were going to get the new Outlaw, that self-contained unit. They ordered it, already had it ordered, and so they're going to cook on that. And I was like, why would you go from a trailer? You know, you had everything, this and that. And he said, I cook better when I'm under a tent. I focus more. And I've thought about that a lot. And it was a guy in George Morris told me that in North Carolina. And I came back and I told Zana, I was like, you know, that's pretty wild. I said, because when we're sitting in the trailer, we'll have cartoons on or a movie or a football game, and I will be sitting around screwing off. And then, oh, damn, I got to do X, Y, and Z or whatever. But when I'm underneath the tent, now every time I've traveled to...
You're looking at a cooker.
I'm looking at a cooker. I'm staring at my timeline too. I'm just like, what do I need to do next? Because most of the time Zana hasn't gone with me out west, so I'm like really focused on, man, I don't want to get yelled at by her because I missed something or screwed something up. So
and you got a lot of money on the line flying out there, a lot of money tied up.
Yeah. So, and you want to do good. So I'm just nothing but concentrating because I've gotten to know a lot more people, but it's not like in the Southeast where everybody's coming by, stopping to talk to you. And so I'd have nothing to do but to concentrate. So
when are you going to order one of those hog hideouts in?
I ain't never getting one. I just like I told you the other day on the phone about when you told me you might need to get an Outlaw. And I'm thinking, man, there's so many people doing so well on Outlaws. The last thing I want to do that's on my to-do list in the near future is to cook on a stick burner. And because like that's where I started, you know, but back then, man, you needed a forest to feed the damn thing. But
yeah, now you don't have to have about 15 sticks to cook contest.
I know, and I helped Myron one time at
well, he still throws a lot of wood.
Well, I was surprised how much wood I didn't have to throw. I helped him a couple of his classes, but one time I was in charge of the hog cooker overnight, and TJ tells me, he goes, we're cooking 275. He said, if it drops to 265, throw one of those on. And he said, and just wait. And he said, if it drops 15 degrees, like if you doze off, he goes, throw two of those on and just wait. And man, I'm sitting there, I doze off, I wake up, it's a 265, I throw one on, I watch it, just comes right back to 275. It's like, well, maybe a stick burner isn't so bad, but the cans are the way my trailer's set up, I got 2 cans on the back, 2 cans on the side. They weigh 150 pounds apiece. You know, that Myron Mixon gravity feed I had on the back of my other trailer, you could feel that on the ass end of that trailer. And obviously you need to have your trailer built to what you're going to be hanging off the back. I get that, but man, having to go fetch wood and find wood and do all that.
I agree, and then not firing up till what time do you fire up now?
So our first smoker, we fire brisket up at 5:30, and then
On at 6?
On at 6:30. And then I used to start my pork drum at 6 and put it on at 7. But now, another little secret that I do, I start my brisket and pork on the same drum. Why? Because I went to Nevada and I didn't have enough smokers, so I cooked my brisket and pork together, and I get 2nd place pork and 7th place brisket, and I'm like, so there's some bro science.
You cut a drum out for no reason, then.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't need it because you're holding them in a camber or a cooler, I'm sure, for turn-ins when they're done.
My 4th drum now is pretty much a waste of charcoal and a waste of time. The only advantage, what I do like about it, is, you can put 2 half pans on a drum, but you got to bend the edges up, and it's tight. So I fire up that my pork drum at the same time I fire up my rib drum, and once I wrap my pork, I still have 4 different individual ones. And sometimes it helps because when it comes time to setting sauce, I don't want anything that's at 250 or anything that's running wild that I haven't been paying attention to, and it's running 375. So Zana will be like, which smoke are we going to? And I'll be like, white, or we're going to blue, because I've looked at it and it's 300 degrees. So it's nice having that other option. But again, it's not a deal breaker. It kind of becomes more of a pain. But that brisket drum, it might be running at 300 at 12:30, but it's been burning since 5:30. So you might notice you lift it up and there's some ash flying out, and I'm like, well, the brisket drum has run its course. I'm not going to use it unless I have to. So just having that little bit of extra buffer, but I definitely help. I don't need it.
Well, what's the one piece of advice you'd like to give anyone trying to get into competition barbecue?
Save your money. Save up. Save up before you start doing it. Now, probably you really have to throw everything away that you think you know about barbecue. Because I know when the first 2 contests I did, I kind of had my feelings hurt because I thought I was a pretty good barbecue cook, and I was for the kings of the cul-de-sacs out there, and that's that's probably something that you could say to somebody that's going to be starting. I can make good sauce. I have great sauce. I have great rubs, but you have to cook to what the judges like. And Heath Riles makes millions of pounds of it, and he has it figured out already. Use his sauce and his rubs and figure out how to make that work.
Well, there's a lot of people that has a lot of good sauces and rubs out there, but
yeah, but these guys, I mean, I've had these backyard guys tell me, oh, here, taste this sauce, and I'm going to run this on my chicken. And I'll be like, don't run that on your chicken. It'll taste like straight up tomato sauce or whatever. So really, if you're going to start barbecuing, be willing to listen to everybody and change with the program. Don't think you're going to go in there and you're going to change barbecue to your liking with the charred ribs and the savory sauce that you're, I know all your friends, everybody that starts barbecuing, they all say, well, all my friends and everybody says I have the best barbecue they ever tasted. And then people that have been in barbecue for a long time will tell you, well, yeah, everybody likes free food. That's why, of course, they're going to tell you. That's why they tell you have the best food. If you're going to cook for them, why not, So really, if you're going to start barbecuing, you need to, nowadays, watch a lot of videos, learn as much as you can. I try to learn every single weekend. I mean, I listen to what anybody has to say, what they're doing, whether they're a mid-pack team or if it's an upper echelon team or a seasoned veteran like yourself. I mean, you might not run their whole program, but if you have
of it's technique.
Right.
I mean, that's the key.
And there's some stupid things like that. Again, like I might learn something tomorrow that is just so simple that you just don't think about it, and you wonder, how in the hell did I not think to use scissors to trim off my silver skin, or just whatever, some of the most simplest things. Hell, like when I tell people that I use, because I'm a plumber by trade, I use PVC ratchet cutters to cut my chicken bones off. They're just like, because, you see people with their damn boning knife and they're hitting their boning scissors with the hook in them, all that. Screw that. Click, 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 pop it right off. And they're a pain to clean, but luckily, I only have to hear about it from Zane. I haven't it's got chicken stuck in it or whatnot. But
that's right.
but yeah, just and I'm trying to simplify even more. Even Mitchell, you told me a long time ago. Brad Leitner's told me. Darren Worth has told me. Mitchell told me the other day. He's like, you got to simplify. You got to simplify. And
you almost got to be willing to cook out of a bus tub. Mm-hmm. And if every little piece of equipment you want in sauce and rub, glaze, dip, anything you need for 4 categories, if it won't fit in one of those gray bus tubs, you don't need it.
Right. That's the other thing I think I've gotten better by flying is not needing all the crap that you have hanging up in your trailer. I mean, if I forget something at a contest, I'll be like, well, I know Kerry Chastain has it, or I know so-and-so has it. They'll have some butter bath, or they'll have some vinegar, Heath Riles vinegar or whatever. And some of these guys' trailers, not that they're not organized, but they will have a damn
cases of stuff.
Cases and just so many. And Zane is a minimalist. So, like, I swear, man, every couple weeks, and it just happened the other day, she's like, do we still need this? Do we use this sauce? Do we use this rub? I'm like, no, I guess not. And I still want to hold on to it. But when you travel, like, I either, I pack what I have to. I like to be able to know that I can go to Walmart and get a rub I needed, or go to Ace Hardware and get stuff. So there's, like you said, I can't take 5 suitcases with me, and that's another thing, even something stupid like knives. I have all these knives hanging up in my trailer. I got a scimitar knife. I have 2 slicing knives. I have like 3 boning knives, 3 fillet knives, 3 little paring knives. I'll use 2 damn knives. I'll use my fillet knife and a slicing knife and a pair of scissors, and I'll be just fine. But it's like, you don't need all that crap. Like, I want to simplify.
I've been there before. I'm still getting rid of barbecue stuff that I don't need anymore, of simplifying it down like that.
Right.
It's just, I think it's part of the process that guys go through, and buying way too much stuff like anybody else and anything other hobby. And I have a lot of fishing tackle. I don't fish tournaments anymore. I used to.
Right.
I mean, I fish bass tournaments, rod and reel tackle and all that, and people laugh at me. And I have buddies, because this was back, I was in my 20s, and I'm about to be 47, and they're like, how do you still have the same thing and it looks like new? And I said, just because I took care of it. I put it in the shop. I didn't throw it around. I still have some of the same stuff like that I've had.
Oh, I still got my rods.
Go out,
15 years ago.
And I don't understand that, how people don't take care of their things a little more.
But yeah, my bass boat was the same way. I'd have so many damn lures in there that I'd never find my way to the bottom. Because if you're in the middle of the tournament, and you got to go, you got to tie and go. And I would tell people about how I talk about, because it happens in barbecue, and in bass fishing they call it dock talk. You fish all week long, so just like the competition, all week long you got your trailer packed, you got your notes made, and you get to the lake, and your buddies start talking about, man, I'm catching them on this Rapala blue off of this point, whatever. And what do you do after the captain's meeting? You run to Walmart and you go buy them, and then you might even tie it on that night. And then that damn thing will lay on the deck of the boat all weekend long, and you never use it. And the same thing happens in barbecue. You see a guy, he's winning all the time, and then he just happens to mention to you, well, man, I use
so-and-so.
Blah, blah, blah.
You hear this guy tell you to go get table salt, and you're saying you're going to go buy it.
Yeah, so now I'm going to have Morton's table salt in the...
Well, I'll loan you some table salt.
Well, so back to that contest in North Carolina real quick, talking about salt. My chicken was good. It was really good. And I got 24th place chicken out of 26 teams. The guy that won never cooked a KCBS before. Now, George Mars helped him because George put on that contest. And I had dinner with George and Shannon and Brian, and they were talking about him helping him. And he was talking about what they did, and it was really what they didn't do. He's like, we didn't brine. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. They used culled chicken from Brian and Shannon. They used this person's cull, so they had all these different size legs. Meanwhile, I'm cutting my legs down. They all weigh the exact same weight. They're 3.9 ounces or whatever. And then I think he used your sauce. I don't remember what the whole combination was. It probably had Blues Hog mixed with it. I don't know. And he said, and he's laughing. He's like, and all we put on it for finishing dust was salt. And I'm like, he wins chicken. I'm number 2 in chicken. I'm 24th. I'm second to last in this field. I don't even understand. But the salt. I mean, and
it
again,
also depends on what the judges were that day. You had a lot of backyard style judges. They like that backyard style like that.
oh yeah,
It all depends on what that group of judges is looking for that day, and that's where the variables really fly in.
But you know, and I agree with that. There's no doubt. And you hear about, and I don't change when it comes to region. When they go, oh, they like sweet here, or they like it more spicy here, because I don't buy into that. Because, and also I have a hard time with like what you're saying about like what the judges like, because then you have to ask yourself, since we're talking current, like what Brad Leitner's doing right now, how in the hell is his stuff? It's not like he's.
I think he's cooking consistent. He's
cooking.
Tenderness.
He's amazing. He's doing awesome. But I guess what I'm saying is, he goes to Virginia and wins. He'll go to Arizona and win. He'll go to California and win. He came to Florida and won. He's winning places he's never won before. Florida was a place he's never won. And, his stuff is so close to everybody else's. And I know he's banging Tenderness. He's doing great. But that whole thing of, well, they like this here or they like that there, how the hell is he overcoming that?
He don't change. He just like me. I never changed the recipe when I went anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't change.
I don't run anything different now.
I just keep it the same, middle of the road.
Yeah.
I did, and I will say this. In the pork category, when I went to Georgia, the only thing I would do different for the sauce is add some chocolate syrup in the barbecue sauce for a little bit of richer texture.
That was a long
and if you
time
use
ago.
Hershey's chocolate syrup in barbecue sauce, you can't pick it out, and it will cause a depthness to the sauce.
Really?
That keeps a judge to keep going back for it. It's good on some pork, depending on what rub you use and the flavors, but it can be very tricky. So don't go get wild with that. And throwing that out there. But
Listen,
that's
when I
why
told
you
you I
see-
changed stuff, Zena would shoot me if I brought in some Hershey's
Well,
syrup.
I used to do that. That was an old trick. You remember at one time, Blues Hog, Bill Arnold, made a chocolate barbecue sauce.
I didn't know that.
Tim and them give out bottles at the Royal. I believe it was last year. It was
last
like
year
some
they-
special edition bottles.
Yes, I remember. I didn't get any, but I
That
remember.
was that recipe, and I had that from Bill Arnold way back in the day, up near Jackson, Tennessee, one time back when I got in my early days of barbecue.
Well, I will tell you, there was a guy that gave me a recipe. It's a beef dip. And it was Heath Riles, and then his beef dip was that, what is it, tortellini or that
Chocolate syrup.
That chocolate syrup. We have some at our house. And
That dip still works today.
I've ran it.
Still got a couple people running in the top 5 in Brisket and KCBS right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm running top 5, and I'm not running it, but I can tell you that brisket dip is good.
It's a lot of those. Yeah, it's
but that thing was complicated, man. I still have that text
11
from you.
ingredients, I believe it was 11 or 12.
But what's weird is like there's the royal beef bouillon, then there's the miner's au jus. There's like 4 or 5 different au jus and stuff.
I used to have to make it up.
So many drops of hickory liquid smoke.
14 drops of hickory smoke.
I
still
mean,
got
at
the
one
text.
time it was really good. I mean, I had a lot of crazy recipes, and you still have my old notebook.
I do. I just took a picture of it and sent it to Mitchell the other day. It's in my black trailer. I can show you that picture when we get off of here, but
Everybody couldn't believe I used to give away all those recipes, stuff that I used to run, old sauce mixtures versus what I'm running now. And people are like, why would you put all that in the book? And I'm like, well, why not give it to people who are taking a class?
Yeah.
And I don't know now. I've got the mentality of I won't charge nobody for the class. I'm going to film it and put it out for free on the internet. And I hadn't done it yet. There's a lot of people that do paid classes on the internet.
Right.
I want the average guy to be able to rewind it as much times as he wants to.
Right.
And to watch it and not cost a dime. I've just got to get off my tail and film those videos. And I would also like to film them on different grills.
Right.
And show the different
microwaves,
techniques
like
on
on
every.
microwaves.
Yeah, or microwave.
Microwave ribs.
I'm going to tell you, ribs in a microwave is a hell of a recipe. Yeah. It is. Well, look, I know, let's wrap up here, but where can folks find Mad Dog Barbecue online or on social media to connect with you?
So on Facebook, and I changed the Instagram, and I'm not good at Instagram. Need to get better at it. But Mad Dog Barbecue Competition Team, because there's the Mad Dog sports stuff. There's this and that. I used to say Steve's Mad Dog, but I think right now if you type in Mad Dog BBQ Competition Team, you'll be able to find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Well, it's always good seeing you. It's always better when it's in person instead of talking to you on the phone. Man.
Right.
I know we don't get together very often, but thank you for coming in today and having a chat with me and Candace. And like I said, it's always great catching up with you,
I
man.
appreciate you having me on.
And
Great
I
seeing you.
just want to also tell you thank you for every bit of support you've always gave me, because you've always been that guy that supported me.
I appreciate it. You've supported me for 11 years now. Even when I wasn't competing, I probably still got victory lane stuff laying around somewhere, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, you've definitely been great to us, and we love being part of the Heath Riles team.
Well, that's what barbecue's all about, being one big family.
Absolutely.
So, we'll see y'all next week on another episode of Shootin The Que.
If you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out to us on our social media channels. Leave us a review if you've enjoyed the show. And until next time, keep shooting the Que.